If you've been even a casual watch fan, you will fall into one of two categories. You either know the Seiko SNXS and have seen all the videos titled the $100 Seiko that beats Rolex, or you've been living in blissful ignorance of the glory that is this watch, in which case I think you'll really enjoy this video. Me, I've owned the SNXS on more than one occasion. The first one I gave to a buddy who was going on his first big boy interview years ago. This watch is a legend, right? But Seiko has gone and tried to reinvent it. But can you reinvent a legend? Well, today we've got the old watch and the new watch together, so let's find out. Hey guys, I'm Max and this is WatchCrunch. WatchCrunch is an app that we developed as a one-stop shop for talking watches because we got tired of the shenanigans on social media and clunky forums. So come join thousands of your watch friends already on WatchCrunch. There are watches we love because of their movements, or their impeccable finishing, or even their bracelets. The SNXS is none of the above. But I still love this watch to death, simply because of what they could accomplish for a little more than $100. If you haven't owned one, I'll tell you, the word that comes out of your mouth when you first open this box is, how? How is this a $100 watch? This dial alone is easily a $500 dial. It's got a deep gray color with a strong dollop of sunburst, and when the light hits it just right, brown tones jump out. It just kind of looks like a pearl. The dark coloration keeps this watch dressy and classy, but the sunburst keeps it fun and sporty. Yes, the design is very similar visually to a Datejust, but that's like waking up, looking in the mirror and saying you look too much like Brad Pitt. For 1/50th of the price of the Datejust, this is a compliment the Seiko can take to the bank. Though not a direct copy, the SNXS has its own twist on that Datejust theme. We do get rectangular hour markers, which are fatter at the 6 and 9 and doubled up at the 12. A framed day-date window is found at the 3, and even the Seiko 5 logo is applied, unheard of at this price. The simplicity and the spacing of all these elements really makes this dial shine. Now 37mm sounds small, but it's got a cushion-shaped case that has an imposing stance. It's mostly polished, and unfortunately has a bulbous case back that makes this watch not really wanting to sit on your wrist flat. But thankfully it's a relatively thin watch at just 11.5mm, so it's still not too obtrusive. This watch, as far as I can tell, has been around for a decade or more. If you guys know precisely when it was introduced, put it in the comments, but it was available when I first got into watches over 10 years ago, and it follows that classic Seiko 5 recipe of being automatically winding, a day-date display, durable case, crown at the 4, and water resistance. Though the last bit is a bit lacking at only 30 meters, but that crown does tuck deeply into the case, so there's no worries about knocking it loose while on the wrist. The movement seen through a display caseback is the 7S26, which is a mechanical workhorse that Seiko puts in a lot of their watches, at least back in the day. Most watches at $100 are quartz, so to get anything mechanical is a blessing, but I suggest you don't stare at this movement too closely because it's quite basic and doesn't even offer frills like hacking, hand winding. Now we get to the weakest point of this watch, which is the bracelet. Now, if you are a fan of modernity, this isn't it. The bracelet, made of folded links, is light, kind of slack and rattly. It's finished with a stamped friction clasp and is adjusted using those stupid metal forks that makes me mutter unspeakable obscenities when I try to remove a link. But hey, do I have to remind you this is a $100 watch? The saying goes, don't fix what ain't broke. Well, Seiko is having none of it because this year they introduced the new SRPK, a successor to the SNXS, and in 3 different colors. I picked up the black one because it made for a more direct comparison, but there's also a blue and a champagne color. The latter has a sunburst finish that's probably best resembles the finish of the old watch, but hey, I wasn't about to buy 3 watches just to make this one video. I don't love you guys that much. As we've seen in recent years, Seiko prices have climbed, and at $400, this is a bit of a sticker shock compared to the original. But objectively, $400 is not astronomical this day and age for a watch, so the question is, did they improve this watch enough to justify it? First impressions are good. I'm glad they kept the smaller size, only bumping the case to 37.5mm. There are too many 40mm Seikos out there. I have a 6.5-inch wrist. My ideal size is more like 38, 39. The finishing on this case though is a big step up, and you can tell that the machines that made this watch is a lot more precise than the previous one. Both watches still get Hardlex crystals, not sapphire. I know a lot of people are going to complain about that. There are more complex brushing and polish transitions on the case, and the lines are extremely sharp. I'd say it's on par with like a Longines case finishing. The case is thicker at 12.5 millimeters, but has like a gentle curve, and the whole shape is more organic, making this watch sit better on the wrist. And with a lug-to-lug of 44.5, it still manages to be subtle. The bracelet gets a big upgrade now with solid inlinks. Still a stamp clasp, but it has a twin trigger release for a more secure lock. But the bracelet just feels more hefty, more durable. On the movement front, we get an upgrade as well. The 4R36 is not more accurate or has a longer power reserve or anything, but it does get hacking and hand winding finally. Not that winding that tiny recessed crown is a pleasure, but it's nice to have. The jet black dial has a similar layout as the old watch with a few key differences. The markers get a bit of faux patina. It's not like overdone, just a hint of yellow for a nice coloration. There is a white chapter ring for contrast and a pop of orange for the second hand. It's all in all just a more playful design. It doesn't take itself as seriously as the old watch. You might say this is a more versatile watch as well, like a go anywhere watch, whereas the SNXS felt a little more formal, more stern. On the wrist, the new watch definitely feels like a more complete package. No longer are you feeling the shake of the bracelet or the case wobbling. The watch has sort of an all-day comfort kind of feel. And you'll be a lot less worried about this watch getting wet, with the water resistant having upgraded significantly to 100 meters. So something really funny happened as I had these two watches on my nightstand for the past week. The first couple days saw me wearing the new SRPK with all its technical upgrades. Just made sense as a better watch on paper. It was more comfortable on the wrist, felt sturdier, has a more versatile design to pair with a variety of outfits. But as the week rolled on, I noticed myself grabbing the old SNXS more and more. Not because of how good it was on paper, but because it was a more interesting watch. Beyond marveling at the accomplishment at this price point, the SNXS just felt like it wasn't trying to please everyone. It was a watch that was like quirky, a little stubborn. It hate it or love it, it wasn't gonna change. It wasn't particularly comfortable to wear. The tall case back kind of wobbles and leaves an imprint on your wrist. The janky bracelet shakes and rattles and reminds you that it might as well have been folded out of old tin cans. But somewhere in between, you see the charm, as if this watch fell out of an insurance salesman's suitcase from the 1970s. It's got that vintage old stock vibe, and through that lens, you get to excuse it for feeling light and airy. You excuse all of its flaws because you love this watch like you love an old record player. The imperfections actually make it a little more charming. And when you get the dial near a window, you realize that this watch is alive, and reinventing it is basically impossible. But what do you guys think? If I was gonna give you one of these two watches for free, which one would you choose? Download the WatchCrunch app and we can continue the discussion there. All right, take care.